Welcome, everyone. My name is Allison Spice. I'm excited to have you this evening. This is a first webinar for our In the Life series presented by the AAEM RSA International Committee. Again, like I said, my name is Allison Spice. I am the chair. I have two additional panelists with me today. I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves. Go ahead, guys.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shantae Williams. I am the vice chair here. I work alongside Allison for our AAEM RSA International Committee. We are super excited to kick this off and give you the information that you need this evening.
Hi everyone, my name is Gabby Hernandez. I'm a fourth year DO student. I'm a member of the International Committee, just here to provide some insight and perspective as well. Thanks for joining us.
Perfect. Thank you, both of you. So, just an overview of let you guys know what is going to happen tonight is that this is, like I said, the first ever webinar that we've had for this webinar series in the life of. And tonight we're going to talk about what is it like to be in the life of MS-3 and MS-4? What are the challenges? What are the things that we need to overcome? Tips and tricks in order to be prepared, in order to ace those rotations and get us to the next step of obviously making our application for residency stand out. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into these questions. A lot of us will, as the panelists, will ask some questions, and then we'll just each of us kind of give our feedback and tidbits on the interaction or experiences that we have. So the first question I have is for Gabby, and how did you prepare for your core clinicals?
Yeah, so clinicals for me, I invested in UWorld as my question bank. The advice is kind of get a question bank that you have had success with. So a lot of people say UWorld or AMBOSS. I definitely wouldn't say you need both. Each section on UWorld has a tab for core clinical material and questions, surgery, family medicine, medicine, all that good stuff. So each time I had a core rotation, I would take the number of questions that I had and I would divide it by the number of days that I was on my clinical rotation and hopefully try to achieve as many questions that I had mapped out in the beginning of my rotation. Given some rotations are a lot more difficult and require more time than others, so trying to kind of stay on top of it and stay organized is definitely something that will prove to have the most success for you for your end of rotation exams. Some people also like Anki. There are some Anki decks that float around that are helpful. So if you need more information on that, I'm sure we could get that for you. And also, if you take the shelf exams, which is what I took at the end of my core rotations, I always tried to do at least one or two practice NBMEs before that, try to stimulate testing conditions. So I would time them myself. You can buy those. They're usually about $20 a piece from the NBME websites. And that kind of gauges whether or not you're prepared to take the shelf exam at the end of the rotation. And that's pretty much what I did for mine.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing you were talking about is like preparing for those I guess those core shelf exams. So it's one thing that obviously is really important does because depending on the school you go to, it could be a percentage of your mark. Besides the core exams that you did and studying for step two, which a lot of students do at the same time, how did you find the day-to-day of your core clinicals? Was there anything else that you used in order to prepare for your day-to-day, go to see the preceptor, or how to do like head-to-toe assessments, anything like that that you may have used?
For me, I pretty much just used if I needed extra additional information, say I was on my medicine rotation, a lot of my preceptors would give me topics to review prior to my rotation starting. Definitely important to do that. If your preceptor gives you topics, make sure you do them because they will be asking you questions. I would then use AMBOSS like for articles. Those are typically sometimes free. And then the step two, the USMLE book also has a lot more in-depth information that is relevant to knowledge that you'd need for step two. So that kind of tackles, two birds, one stone. And then, the other things that we use is like up to date. That's always, there's a lot of things that preceptors might mention that isn't in our curriculum for step two, but still we might need to know those little facts and tidbits. So up to date would also probably be a resource that I use as well as WikiEM. That's a specific app that you can get on your phone. It's also, you can get it on the browser. That's for more EM geared information if you're ever on EM core.
That's right. Very good. One thing I remember from my rotations as well is that MedCal. MedCal was always a good resource to use, just to, if the preceptor would turn around and say, "Oh, what's the heart score?" and "What's the heart score, for example, for this patient?" You know what I mean? So that was always something that was really good, useful tool. And rest assured, everybody that is watching, we will have a list of resources at the end listed on our website that you can access and how to access those so that they can help you as well. Okay. So, as we all know, MS3 is challenging because it's getting your foot in the door. You're starting to do your clinical core clinicals, and then now you're also studying for your shelves and your step two. So, once that year has gone by, now it's kind of up to you as the student to plan what your fourth year is going to look like. How did you go about planning for your fourth year, Gabby?
Yeah, for me, I started around this time, so right around January, February time. I started kind of redoing my own research on what programs I thought I would be applying to when we started applying for our residency in, the little bit of later fall. For me, a resource that I used was the EMRA map. That was definitely a really good resource for me to kind of get some quick facts about programs. I know it's very hard as a third year medical student to really know what you want from a program at this early stage in your career. And even now, as a fourth year who's done with all their interviews, I have a better idea of what I wanted, but that kind of comes with time with the interviews. So don't feel too much pressure at this moment in time. If you don't know what you want, you will find that as time goes on and you get some mentor and guiding. But for me, planning out my fourth year, you have to be very, very organized and a little bit strategic. VSLO, Clinician Nexus, and program-specific websites will be your three resources that you're going to use moving forward into fourth year. For EM auditions specifically, I think majority of the programs were on VSLO, and if you couldn't find it on VSLO, then you could just go do a quick Google search for the program, see if they're participating. Sometimes they have their own applications separate from that, so that was just another way to kind of get your foot in the door with those programs as well. The
Yes.
advice that I received when I was going through is to try and get your auditions done as early as possible. That's because you submit your residency application towards the end of September. You can get what is called a SLO, which we'll probably talk about later. That's basically an EM standardized letter of evaluation that the residency programs can upload on your behalf. So in order to have that, when your residency application is submitted, at the time for you to get it as so that you can get your application evaluated as quickly as possible, to have those auditions done maybe June, July, August, September. You can still do some later on, but just keep in mind that slow is really important for programs to have prior to them offering you an interview.
That's right, correct. And that's what I remember too with myself is that always start early. So if you start January, February of your before your fourth year is starting, so that you know that you have enough time to schedule those slows. And the slow is the standard letter of evaluation, just like Gabby was saying. And this is a standardized letter that all the EM residency programs utilize in order to see where do you fit compared to other EM applicants. And then as far as potentially what type of support and training would you need in EM residency as well. So it's just something for them easily to gauge and numerically put a value to it when you're going through the residency application process. And like Gabby and Shantae, we all know that we will be doing another pre-recorded session when it comes to slows, also of all those things that Gabby was saying about clinician nexus and about VSLO, all those in order for it to help you utilize it, because obviously they can get very confusing. Okay, so we've tackled our core rotations. We have tackled as far as we're studying for STEP. Obviously, we're trying to get our sub-I so we can get the different type of letters that we need for applying for residency. So how do we manage work-life balance and all of that? Any tidbits, even for you, Shantae, any tidbits when it comes to work-life balance?
Yeah, so guys, please forgive me. I've lost my voice, so bear with me. But in terms of work-life balance, I think that is key in medicine. It's very often that you can get burnt out. We are studying like 8+ hours a day, especially if you're in the heat of your step one and step two prep. It can be overbearing, and of course, life lives. So I think a tips I would say is one, find something that you can hold on to, in the sense of whether that's an outlet like the gym, getting your nails done, something as simple as that, or your hair, if you're a female, if you're a male, I don't know, maybe pick up a sport. Football is on now. But find something that is your outlet and create boundaries. A lot of times we want to study all the way until we're going to our beds, or we're, stressing out. Have a cutoff time. If you're done with your studies, it's 9 p.m. That's what it is. And then now you have a treat in the evening, whether that's playing games or whether that's watching a movie. Another tip I would say for work-life balance is more so make sure you have a great support system. Friends, family, have someone to call, have a designated solo night out on Sundays. That's what I did for myself. I had like a solo date jar, and I would just kind of take one out and I'm like, okay, we're going to the movies, or we're going, something crazy. Just so like I didn't get so absorbed and zoned in where I started not loving the thing that I'm going after, what I'm passionate about. So that would be my advice. Make sure you put yourself first. It's very easy to say, but make sure you squeeze it in those cracks because it does matter in the longevity of this career.
I love that idea of the solo dates. That is such an amazing idea.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would like to add to that, Gabby?
Yeah, no, I think what she said was amazing. It can be a very stressful and daunting time during third year. You're going to the hospital, some rotations. I remember I was doing like surgery, for example. I was doing like 7 to 7. That's a long time to be in the hospital as a medical student. And like Shantae said, like going home, kind of knowing when your cutoff time is, knowing that maybe I'm too tired to get to the year world, like do it tomorrow. Like don't feel guilty about saying like I need a break. I need to rest. Like rest is very important. One of the biggest things that, we have to keep in mind is that our performance on these clinicals does play a big role in your application, getting in your slows. Your clinical performance is very much a big factor as well. So if you're really not rested, and it might show while you're on your clinicals, that's not going to do you any service either. So make sure you're taking your breaks, make sure you're having your outlets. Try it. I know it's easier said than done, but find something you're passionate about, stick with it, and make sure you prioritize that week to week.
Yes, exactly. And obviously one thing I always say to people, and Shantae was hitting on it too a little bit, is that get out and get moving. So I think that's the main thing is that you can easily get stuck sitting in that chair, studying in front of your computer. But even if it's just going for a walk and going to the Starbucks to do a few questions or something, but get out, get some sunshine, get that vitamin D in you. Perfect. So, with sometimes the stresses of having different preceptors, some preceptors are nicer than others, and as well as different situations that we get into or different challenges that we have during these clinicals rotations. Have either of you ever had any type of mentorship, or where did you gain any mentorship along this path that you're on?
Yeah, for me, I did a lot of like what do I like to say, cold call emailing essentially. The things that I did is I reached out to fourth years when I was in MS-3, anyone that was applying EM to kind of start guiding me, especially when we were starting to apply for those aways and the sub-Is like we've touched on. And then trying to get some residency perspective of what like EM is like. So I emailed some graduates from my school and asked, hey, I'm a third year from your school. I know you don't know me, but I'm very much interested in EM. Can you help me? And I got a lot of good feedback back. You can also reach out through like our national organization. We have ways to connect you with a mentor if you have nobody at your school or nobody at like any advising or anything like that. We can definitely connect you with somebody who would be willing to take a student and give you some guidance there. And that's what I did as well. And now I have some faculty that they live across the country, but they're still, they take the time out of their day to give me calls and email me back and forth about any little thing. No question is too little. So it's definitely you have to kind of put yourself out there sometimes, but you never know who's going to be willing to help you. So don't be afraid to do that.
Yeah, that's right. Don't be afraid to ask. Yeah, Shantae.
Yeah, I think that was a great answer. I definitely want to touch on the perspective of an IMG in this area. I think mentorship is something that is critical for IMGs, especially being that we kind of don't get some resources that other schools do. They don't set you up with a mentor, or how you don't have a guide. You're kind of just like figuring this out on your own. My best advice for those that are international medical students is invest in conferences if you can. Me going to the AAEM conference and others really pivoted my entire trajectory. Networking is key. And I feel like once you start to communicate with those around you, even if it's just a MS-4 from like an American medical school that can help you through the process of match, or you can meet someone that is in the office, maybe an assistant PD, whoever it may be, but make those connections early, especially in your third year. I would say that's when you definitely want to invest in that. In terms of creating a rapport, I would keep up with my mentor. I don't care if they find me annoying. I'm going to be asking you questions. To me, I feel no question is dumb because I'm trying to learn. And I think if I'm eager, then that should be rewarded. So I would check in with them, even if they're like, okay, why is she checking in with me? I'm checking in with you until you start to love me. And then we are now working together and I'm getting where I need to go. So yeah, don't be afraid. And another thing is IMGs, we tend to have this stigma like, oh, we're coming in as an IMG. You're a medical student. You're just a medical student and you have to be just as competitive in these interviews or even more. And I feel like if you just put your best foot forward, you will get where you need to go. So mentorship is critical. And I think everyone should seek it out. So definitely, if you can't afford the conference, go online, do the webinars, even just typing in your questions to us, that's a connection as well. Getting an email, that'll work too. So yeah, that's my answer.
That's amazing. No, it definitely goes to that you don't have to have just one mentor. There could
Yeah,
be multiple mentors that you have for different areas of what you have within your career.
absolutely.
It might be somebody that maybe you're looking to have a family. And so it might be another attending EM physician that has a family, and understands the struggles of what that's going through. It could be somebody that, you're moving to Pennsylvania, you're thinking about for residency, you've never lived in Pennsylvania. So there's going to
Right.
be multitude of different mentors that you're going to have. And sometimes when you first start out looking for a mentor, the first couple or first few may not be the right match for you, or maybe they're too busy. Don't take it personally. That is life and the life of an ER doc, and just move on and see where other people, you're going to find someone that you're going to connect with, somebody that is going to really be able to be your support system outside of your support system at home, and they'll really be able to cascade you and give you that confidence that you need when it comes to residency application time, right? So, as you all know, we're involved, the three of us, with AAM. And a lot of times, as medical students, we're involved in other organizations as too. When did you guys both get kind of started in the national EM organizations?
Me, myself, I actually got involved kind of in the beginning of my third year. Again, it was a mentor. A mentor said, "Hey, are you in any of these organizations?" I was like, "No, should I be?" Nobody had told me at the time. So that's kind of where another thing mentors tell you things that you should be doing, things that help you with your application, things that help you with networking. So I got involved in a bunch of organizations. And again, that opened more doors for me for mentoring and networking, and couldn't recommend it enough. We get to collaborate with our peers. We all get to bounce ideas off each other all the time. It's a great way to help you navigate the EM world.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, for me, it was around the same time too, as Gabby in the beginning part of my third year. I just started researching, and I just was looking for organizations or groups. And I think like I went to my first conference that was in Chicago, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I started learning more through that. And yeah, I think just by being a chatterbox talking and all, they're like, oh, you'd be great to host something. And I'm like, okay. And it was pretty cool to just connect in that way. So yeah, I would definitely say as a third year, put yourself out there. Even if you're an introvert, just start talking, just start saying hello, even if it's even on Twitter. You would not even know the power of a DM and how far that could take you, or an email. So definitely put yourself out there.
That's right. It's all about who you know or who you're in contact with. And they start saying, oh, I need a speaker for this, or I need somebody to be involved in that. And then they pull upon who is in their circle, right? And then sometimes within that circle, they might even know somebody else within their school or colleagues or fellow classmates to make that circle even bigger. And that's how you network. And we're going to put on another pre-recorded series. Video for you guys all about networking, how to utilize that, what to do, how to do it. And then also within that webinar will be how to get to these conferences and how to potentially utilize any potential scholarships or be involved as ambassadors that you're volunteering your time, which then obviously can stipend sometimes the cost of the conference with the hotel and the airfare, things like that. So we will definitely look forward for you guys to do that. We'll have a great understanding of that. Please, 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 everyone is listening. If you have additional comments or questions in regards to the content that we provided today, we have that on Instagram. Submit your questions today, even on our AAEM webpage. Just put AAEM / RSA International Committee. It will come up right away. You can submit your questions and we'll make sure to list those there for you. We thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today and listening to this. And I hope you pay it forward and let others know. And because knowing, it makes you more successful. Take care.